Welcome back to Maybe Actually Museums Are For Me. I'm your host, Alex Pavljuk, and I'm thrilled to be joined in conversation by Wanda Croudy, the Interim Committee Chair of the African American Cultural Committee here at MAM. The AACC, as they're better known, has been and continues to be a really special and vital pulse within the museum's community and ecosystem since as far back as the 1980s. The AACC, as we'll talk about in more depth later in the episode, was born with the mission to sustain and maintain the legacy of artists of the African diaspora, and with that as its guiding mission, has expanded and reoriented itself as a bridge between the museum and various communities, forging meaningful connection through outreach and programs. The AACC's goal undoubtedly is to ensure that these outstanding artistic contributions will be enjoyed and valued by future generations. And I really think both before and now even more so after my conversation with Wanda, their 40 plus years of commitment to that mission is astounding and proves it tenfold. I do want to just jump right into the conversation because there's plenty that we touched on during this chat. So without any more delay, I am honored and excited to share my conversation with Wanda Croudy, the Interim Committee Chair of the African American Cultural Committee here at the Montclair Art Museum. Hi, Wanda.
Hi, Alex.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. The AACC is such an incredible, part of this community and institution, and it's just such a joy to get to talk to you a little bit more in depth about what the AACC does and what it is that the organization brings to the museum at large. So could you just talk to me a little bit about like the history of the African American Cultural Committee and what exactly it's where it comes from and the purpose behind it?
Sure. Well, first, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really appreciate this. Like I was saying, I didn't know we had a podcast. And so for you to turn around and have me on so quickly is fabulous. So the history of the AACC. So the actual, let's say, year that it was created is kind of a little fuzzy.
Okay.
But I can easily say that we're approaching like 40 years old. We're like a 40-year-old committee, which was created by two artists and a writer and author, Ben Jones, Janet Taylor Pinkett, and Valerie Wilson Wesley.
Yeah.
Valerie is still here. Ben in literally Montclair. Ben is in Jersey City, but you wouldn't know it because he's like always here.
He's always here. I've ran into Ben many times. It's, whenever we do get to chat, although briefly, it's always an honor and a joy. His artwork's incredible.
Exactly. Yeah. His artwork, his passion, his energy, his commitment. Like this man is like, yeah, I got to be here. I'll be there next. And then I got to go here. And I'm like, I aspire to that.
Man on a mission.
Exactly. And then Janet, who was here, of course, Montclair, but she now lives in Pasadena, enjoying probably much warmer weather.
Yeah. You kind of just mentioned the inception of the committee is a bit hazy time-wise, but, can you talk to me a little bit about what the mission has been continues to evolve to be?
Well, they came together because of primarily to help put a different spin on the museum and its reputation with the community, because it seemed like such an elitist institution, which all intents and purposes, let's break it down. It's over 100 years old. So yes, it was an elitist institution. It was only for a certain set of people. It was only for a certain echelon. And it's in Montclair. And like a lot of things here in Montclair, it's for the people.
Yeah.
So this institution, particularly where it's located, and it's just a massive place, it has to be open for the community. And so when the organization or when the committee was created, it was to help let the community know that this institution is here for you. We have things that you can learn, things that you can be inspired by. And when I say things, it's more than just the artwork. It's
Absolutely.
the different camps for kids. It's the different activities that take place for kids, teens, and adults. And then, of course, for the artists, it's like, yes, this is a place where you as an African-American artist can look to show your artwork, look to actually have your artwork acquired, purchased by the museum, where it's there for, the life.
Yeah.
It's there in perpetuity. So it was founded by beautiful people for a beautiful mission, and it's really continued that in different iterations over the years. I can even say decades, but we do have a mission that still stands on that firm.
Yeah. You just mentioned something that really harkens back to a conversation in our last podcast we just had. We had Liz Samuel from Montclair Story Salon on the show, and we were talking about, kind of, you talked about the elitist nature that I would say not only MAM has had in the past and the attempts to dismantle that, but a lot of, museums.
Art institutions.
Exactly. And I think that although I love the word museum and I love what it stands for and I love it in our name as the Montclair Art Museum, I think it's poignant and important. But I think museums sometimes can have a, we'll say, dusty kind of connotation. It's maybe seems historical or old or, I wouldn't necessarily say out of touch, but maybe disconnected from, what the arts today represents and can be.
Exactly.
And I think it's much more appropriate to, when you think of the Montclair Art Museum, yes, it's a museum, but we're much more than that. We're an arts institution, a cultural institution,
right,
as you mentioned. And I think that's a really good place to kind of continue the thought that you kind of brought up about the connection to community engagement.
Right.
How does the AACC serve as a bridge between MAM and the Montclair community, and not just Montclair, but all of North Jersey, the New York metro region? We're more than just this little, however many, a lot of square miles.
Exactly. More in Essex County.
Yeah.
But go Essex County. Love Essex County. But I will answer that. But I also want to touch upon what you were saying about the name of museum, like being a museum, and that it can be like old or outdated. But I want to say historically, it's still a great type of institution. Yeah. And I don't know how we can definitely get away from museum, but we do have to like rebrand it, in a sense. So that it does appeal to, a younger, generation, or it does appeal to a broader generation without it getting, too stuck up in what it used to be. But historically, you want to have that history. You want to be able to go someplace and see, where we were and what we were. It really does help to where we are now and where we can go. Yeah. I think it's just a wonderful place for learning, because I remember being a part of a workshop, and the gentleman was like, well, you have all these like artifacts and art institution. It was a much bigger art museum. I won't say which one, but we do live right outside of New York. And they were saying like, all this stuff is stolen and everything. I said, okay, well, we won't go into that right now, but let's just say we have acquired pieces that are in a place that other people who normally would not be able to see or experience or learn about, let alone, like touch and, really actually experience with your different senses. Because not everybody can travel. Not everybody can see every artist, that there is, or learn about, every aspect of art. So museums are needed. And again, if we could change the narrative around it and the rebranding, that'll be great. But let's not use the history. Yeah. So the AACC, with that kind of like being said, is to work with the museum to have different programs that appeal to, African Americans, appeal to, even younger African Americans or African American families with young kids. Like, let them know that there are programs here that, they can take part of. One thing I will mention, having said kids, and you mentioning Ben Jones, is that the AACC does have the Ben Jones Scholarship.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah. Absolutely.
Which he loves, because Ben is all about get the young people involved, get the young people involved. So with that, we're able to offer a scholarship. And if I'm not mistaken, because actually I would love for you at one point talk to those who are on the subcommittee for the AACC, which is the Ben Jones Scholarship Committee, to talk about, reaching out to the different schools in the area, and more so than just Essex County.
Yeah.
For the kids to come here to be part of the camps or the classes that happen throughout the year. So not just camps in the summer, but classes throughout the year. So that gets not only the kids in, now the parents have to know about it. Now the teachers have to know about Montclair Art Museum and the AACC. Yeah. And that kind of falls in line with our other programs that we have. So one of the things that's great about the African American Cultural Committee, it is a umbrella committee, let's say at this point. We're definitely an advisory committee to the Montclair Art Museum, as I like to say, with a more hands-on approach, because we will get in and get our hands dirty to make sure things get done. But we also have subcommittees. And one of the subcommittees is the Ben Jones Scholarship. We also have programming and events, which that is a very dynamic subcommittee. That team really pulls in the people through like the Film Forum and Art Meets Jazz. And we've had we don't call them master classes, but with the people we have involved, such as Valerie's husband, Richard Wesley, like well-known play and film writer. And he comes in with so much knowledge that it's kind of like a master class.
Yeah.
So and things like that. And then we have our travel and excursions.
You guys are always going fun places.
Yes, we are. and when you say we, which is great, because even though we may, have thought of the idea, or the committee has put together, I guess, whatever information and logistics to be able to take the excursion or committee, it's open to other people in the museum.
Yeah.
So, and then what else we have? We have the fellows, the Founders Fellows Committee as well.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about that, because you talked about the Ben Jones Scholarship, which is a remarkable thing, but then there's also the fellowships that you guys, sponsor and provide to artists. Can you just talk about that a little bit? Because it's such an incredible thing. I've gotten to work with a lot of artists through making the content we do for the museum, whether that's interviewing on this podcast, doing artist profiles, behind the scenes videos, going to their studios and doing studio visits. It's really, it's expensive to be an artist.
It is.
It's really expensive. And, it can be discouraging for some, the financial burden that it is to try and make a living as an artist. And so programs like the Founders Fellows is just this remarkable beacon of light for creatives to be able to do the thing that they love without, with at least a lower bar that they have to clear to be able to do the art and to make and create, without that financial burden necessarily as present.
Exactly.
Can you just talk to me a little bit about it? Because it's so incredible. And I get so excited whenever the artwork does go up in the community gallery, because it's always so incredible.
Yeah.
Like Jaslyn's so great. So great.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I was going to say, so currently we have Jaslyn Sabri, whose artwork is currently up in the museum, coinciding with Nanette Carter. Like, how huge is that? Yeah. And we're only in our second year. So in all transparency, we're still like mapping it out and smoothing out some of the rough edges. But to your point, it is a great opportunity for an emerging artist for the most part. For Jaslyn as an emerging artist to, just suppose her artwork with a Nanette Carter, who's just this wonderful, established artist. The Fellows actually gives an artist an opportunity to be associated with a museum. And that's kind of like mic drop. How many young emerging artists want to be like, oh my God, I showed in the Montclair Art Museum. Our mission, again, for the AACC is to have opportunities like that for artists. So through this Fellows, which was created by the, in tangent with other committee members, the former chair, William Jiggett, to give an artist an opportunity to be not only associated with the Montclair Art Museum, but to work with the AACC and to really expose themselves to the community. So, for instance, she and Deborah Cartwright, the fellows before her.
Yeah, Deborah was incredible also.
Exactly.
2 home runs. Yeah, great people, great artists, just like so generous and kind, just such good people.
Which there is, like I said, a committee that goes through the process of receiving so many applications and going through the interview process which is difficult.
It's prestigious.
Yes, to bring it down to just one person.
I know.
And I won't say how we would love for it to be more than one, but right now we're working with one per year. And they not only get a chance to show their artwork in the museum, but they get to do a workshop based on their artistry, based on the medium that they work with. They get to do a lecture. So you get to, really come and hear what inspires them, what helps them create and why they create and things like that, which we love to hear from artists. Yeah. Because not only does that endear you to an artist and their work, that lends to, I would like to have a piece in my collection.
Absolutely.
Like, I love this, I will make a purchase.
I also think it reminds you that the museum isn't static and that the institution is living and breathing. Exactly. And that, what's on the walls aren't these, windows into the past or, memories of artists once gone. Like it shouldn't be that, you have to pass on to have a legacy and to be impactful. Yeah, very true. And
as I say, give them their flowers.
Exactly.
Now.
Yeah. And I think that, the work that this, fellows program offers is right there. It's so great. And it's just a really remarkable thing. I do want to circle back around. We mentioned it briefly, but the events and programming that you guys do. I've been to both the Film Forum and Arts Meets Jazz, which Arts Meets Jazz is coming back. Yes. It'll be here very soon, March 20th. It's such a fun event. And yeah, I want to talk to you about the thought process that goes into the programming. And, as somebody who, I make documentaries for work. I love films. The Film Forum is so great, but why a film forum? Why, a concert? Why are those things important to blend with the arts? I think it's super interesting finding the intersection between different mediums and genres that don't traditionally show up in a museum.
Right.
And I think the work that, the AACC does to bring them together into the fold is huge.
Yes. Well, I like how you say the arts, because it's not always about the fine arts, but the arts are integrated. The performing arts, the musical arts, even the broadcast arts, film arts, all of that is the creative process of someone. Is someone allowing themselves to speak out loud, so to speak. So with the programming committee, it's just that. It's programs and events that will appeal to a number of different people, but all under the umbrella of the arts. What's going to bring someone, feeling comfortable into the doors of the museum so they can learn not only about that particular event or program, but, I didn't know MAM also did this. I didn't know this had this, many galleries. I didn't know they had this type of artwork. And to your point, it's not all about historical, although I love history. Yeah. But it's contemporary art, which is what the museum really focuses on, quite a bit. So having, someone like Jasmine being an emerging artist is something very different and new and wonderful for the museum to have. And when you have that coupled with the events that we do or the programs that we have, it really brings in a number of different people or appeals to a number of different people here again within the auspices of the arts, but still something that's creative, something that's expressive, and something that other people can resonate with. Yeah. So I don't want to give a lot away about, especially Art Meets Jazz, which is in its, I believe, it's our 7th year or 8th year. I can remember sitting down talking about that because I really hope you'll have someone on the show to talk about it because it's a wonderful event. And AACC has done jazz programs in the past, but this particular morphing of a jazz event coupled with art is just wonderful, and it's just been fine-tuned over the years, and it's really something, like you said, that people like look forward to.
Yeah,
like
it's
coming.
It was my first one last year that I attended, and there was an electricity in the room. It was so fun.
Oh yeah,
it was such a good time, and yeah, it's wonderful. I'm so excited for this year's.
Yeah,
it's gonna be
packed, and it brings people in. And the film forum, actually, I wrote this down. I think we're in the 17th year, and it was started by a AACC member. He now lives in South Jersey, but Lonnie Brandon. And we actually used to show like several films, like a film a week throughout the month of February for Black History Month. And then because of other programs and other desires to have different types of programs, we kind of scaled back on the film, but we never will not show a film. Not only in, I guess, to, keep the respect going for Lonnie and all that he's done for the AACC, but another means of exposing MAM and to integrating the different arts.
Yeah, the mediums. Totally.
Yeah.
I want to thank you again for being on the show. It's been such a pleasure getting to chat with you. I have a few more questions.
Sure.
But I just wanted to thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. This has been great. But you're going to have to stop me because I can keep going.
No worries. I want to talk a little bit about the influence that the AACC has had over the acquisition of art. Can you just talk to me a little bit about how the AACC has contributed to the representation of African American artists within the museum's collection? I think the most publicly facing exhibition that we've had in recent times would be Century 100 Years of Black Art at MAM, which closed last season and was just so incredible. Can you just talk to me a little bit about the acquisition process and what exactly, as a committee, you guys do in coordination with our curatorial department to kind of decide what we're going to purchase, what we're going to show? Just pull back the veil on that a little bit.
Okay. So we are, again, an advisory committee.
Yes.
So we really don't have a lot to say, but we can make a lot of suggestions.
Yeah.
And Gail is wonderful. So Gail has been very open. And not only Gail, like Ira and, the trustees, two different artists that we are interested in. We do have Diana Tyson, who's a member of the AACC, and she sits on the acquisition committee for MAM. And she is this fabulous collector. Like, she can tell you, like, historically, like a historian, I don't even know what other words to use, but other than her passion and dedication to not only collecting the art, so buying the art, but knowing who's on the cusp. Like, she is just really good. So that's a perfect position for her to be associated with MAM in that sense of being on the acquisition committee. So again, we do have the suggestions, and I'm really glad you brought this up because I can say from our programming standpoint, we had a panel discussion during the pandemic, and it was Gwendolyn Barrington Jackson, an artist. She's on the AACC, fabulous artist. And then her niece, Ayanna V. Jackson. We had Alonzo Adams, and then his son, Kyle. And it was a discussion about, being an artist and the legacy of it all. It's like, kind of like passing the torch, or just being hereditary in terms of art being a part of a family thing. And it was a great conversation moderated by Sharice Jones. And at the end of that, a piece of Ayanna's artwork or photography was purchased. So that was like cool. Yeah. In terms of the Century exhibition, was wonderful and several years in the workings. That harkens to the fact that we had this travel and excursions committee.
Yeah.
One of our excursions was to the Philadelphia Museum of Art when they had their very similar exhibition of art by African Americans in their collection. And we came back with the book and we're like, oh my God, this is great. We can do this. Like, look at everything that we have.
Yeah.
And again, it took some time, which most exhibitions do. But it finally came to fruition and it was just amazing. I don't know exactly the number, but I think it was like 60 or 60 plus pieces by a number, different artists in the collection. Not even every piece of artwork or not every artist that the museum owns had a piece in the art in the exhibition, which goes to say, wow, man, you have a lot of artwork by African Americans, but it was a wonderful exhibition. And I just want to really get the curators, Adrian Childs and Nico Okoro, just did a wonderful job.
Yeah.
So it was great to see going, so far back, like decades of acquisitions by the museum. Some of them most definitely suggested by the African American Cultural Committee, definitely through Ben Jones and Janet Taylor Pickett, because they are, the artists. They are like kind of like the legacy for, many of the people, artists who look up to them. And so they know what's happening. And then you couple that with, a Diana who has her finger on the pulse of what's going on. Some good suggestions are made. And thank you, ma'am, for, taking some of them.
Yeah. Thank you for being a part of it and adding to the legacy. It's remarkable the work that you guys do, and it's vital.
Yeah.
I want to close on this. There's a lot of question marks in the country, in the world
right about now.
right now. And I think that the work that the AACC does is really, really important. I think there's no questioning that. And I guess I just wonder what's next for the AACC. What is there moving forward? What programs are coming? How can people get involved in the mission? Because it's always evolving.
Right.
Where can you point people to if they want to know more about what's coming, what's next? How they can get involved.
Even though we change, we do keep some consistency.
Yeah.
So we're always going to have a travel and excursions committee because there's always some place to travel to.
Certainly.
Like we've been to Paris, we've been to Cuba, we've been to London, we've been to a number of excursions through, Philadelphia and DC. So that's going to stay the same, even though the places we go may change. We're always going to have programs like the Film Forum and the Art Meets Jazz and some of the talks, but the people are going to change. So that consistency of always having a program that's open and appealing to people is going to stay there. But the people and who we feature, who we bring to the museum, is going to change.
Yeah, I mean, you're a 40-plus-year-old organization. It's gonna evolve.
Exactly. So
the faces are gonna get different. They're gonna change. They're gonna sub in and out. And
it's going to evolve, but with a great foundation. Our foundation is going to stay the same. Like our mission maybe tweaked, but for the most part, it's going to stay the same. And we've like forged a path, so to speak, and we're going to keep it, going. Do we run into like fork in the roads and road bumps? Yeah, like any organization or committee. But we, come together, we get over them. On that note, I can say I have a really great not advisory, we are an advisory, core council.
Yeah.
So it's like Sharon Burton Turner, Tanya Poteet, Valerie Wilson Wesley, Diana Tyson, Odney Anderson, and Jonathan Lee. And I do defer to them, when I want to make like big decisions before I go off half-cocked. And they're great. And they're like my foundation. So then I know I can, keep it moving. And the other thing I'll say is that we did have just recently a prospective new members reception, where we had our current members and other people we knew who had expressed an interest to come and find out more about us, so that we are bringing in new blood all the time, new ideas, fresh energy. Yeah. So we'll stay the course, but it'll be vibrant.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Wanda, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This has been so great.
Thank you, Alex.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
It's been a great conversation. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. thank you so much for sticking to the end of this episode. Thank you again to Wanda Croudy for joining me in this episode of Maybe Actually Museums Are For Me. The work you and the AACC do is beyond appreciated and so tremendous. Again, if you're interested in any of the work that the AACC does here at the museum, you can learn more about them by visiting our website. That's montclairartmuseum.org. You can follow the museum on Instagram. That's just, you could find us at MAM Montclair. That's MAM Montclair. Again, MAM Montclair, no spaces. You could also find us on YouTube. We have tons of videos there. Just search the Montclair Art Museum. We're on TikTok. Same thing. Just search the Montclair Art Museum. Our galleries are open to the public Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's plenty of events. We have a free First Thursday event coming back. So the first Thursday of the month from, I believe, 5 to 9 p.m. The galleries are free. There's food trucks, live performances, art lessons. It's a great time. The museums are free. It's a great chance to visit MAM if you've never been before. In addition to that, we also have Art Meets Jazz, as mentioned in this episode, coming to the museum March 20th. Stay tuned for where to purchase tickets for that event. And yeah, there's so much going on here, and I think the conversation that I had today with Wanda was, super insightful and a great window into the tremendous layers of work that we aim to do here at the museum. Again, this has been Maybe Actually Museums Are For Me. Thank you so much again to Wanda for sitting down with me for this episode, and we will talk to you next Wednesday.